Today on New England Living, we'll introduce you to an eco-friendly food delivery service using technology to support local farmers and see how one company is turning ordinary rocks into extraordinary products. Plus, how bringing the outdoors in can lead to healthier, happier living. It all starts right now on New England Living. New England has a style all its own. The people, the history, the culture. Join us as we discover the faces and places, the design and destinations, everyone and everything that makes New England extraordinary. I'm glad I discovered it now. Love the place you call home with New England Living. Thanks for joining us today on New England Living. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. First up, it's food with a conscience. Learn how one company is working with local farms to minimize waste and support the economy. Erin Baumgartner started Family Dinner in 2017 with the mission of creating community around local food and the people who grow it.
Family Dinner is a local farmers market delivery service, but what we're trying to do at the same time is use data, technology, and analytics to really shorten and strengthen the local food supply chain. And thinking that if we were able to create a distributed network of local farms, local bakers, growers, producers, and makers, that we could kind of band together and make them stronger than they are just on their own. And maybe that small farmers then eventually have the chance to compete with the big guys. And that's kind of the big pie in the sky kind of a dream, but that's why we're here, is to embolden, strengthen, and connect the local food supply chain.
You do not have a background in farming though, so how did you get into this?
So I spent 11 years of my life at MIT, most recently as the assistant director of the Sensible City Lab. And what we were doing in that lab was trying to use data to understand complex systems in urban environments, such as transportation and waste. So we've created a suite of technologies and systems. And what we're trying to do is use these systems to eliminate waste by ordering to meet exact demand, by meeting with farmers to do predictive forecasting of what our needs will be in the future, and also by doing data storytelling so that our customers and our members truly understand the value of the food that's in their homes and that they assign a greater value to that food and maybe think a minute before about wasting it. Because there's waste that happens at all levels of the food supply chain, from the fields to transportation to where things are warehoused, and finally in our own counters where we sort of leave that ugly looking banana a little too long. So waste happens at all of these levels, and we've tried to create a holistic system that eliminates waste at each step.
And when you supply these farmers with that data, how does it help them then eliminate the food waste?
What we'd like to do is sit down with the farmers and do demand forecasting together. From the data, we understand where we are now and where we will be a year from now. And so with that information, we can sit down with the farmers and make a plan together about the crops that we'd like, the amount of yield that we'll be expecting. They can plant with the confidence that everything that they plant will be sold to us. And we never haggle on price. We're always trying to make a fair offer to a farmer because we understand exactly how much work goes into everything that they're producing.
One of those farmers is Andrew Rogers of Clark Farm in Carlisle.
Just about anything you can grow in Massachusetts, we grow here. So tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, lettuces, broccoli. We're a certified organic vegetable and livestock farm. The traditional model with growing vegetables is you try to grow whatever, and if you have luck, if the weather cooperates, you can produce some crops, and then you're stuck with trying to sell them. And you don't necessarily know where you're gonna sell them and what price you can get for them. But with working with Erin and Family Dinner, I have a guaranteed price that we talk about in the off season, and then I'm producing for her, and she'll come once those crops are ready and pick them up and pay that price that we negotiated. So it's a much more secure financial model for me. Working with Family Dinner, there's no waste. That's the beauty of her model. She's letting me know ahead of time exactly how many bunches of whatever she's buying, bunches of radishes or carrots or heads of lettuce. I know that in the winter, so I can plan specifically for that. I can plant that number out and harvest it and pack it, and she's there to pick it up, and there's very little waste that occurs.
Shannon Largy is the operations manager at Family Dinner and a second-generation farmer.
We put local farming first and foremost. We celebrate local food and the people that grow it. When one of our farmers calls me and says, hey, I have 600 pounds of beets that need to go this week, being able to say, yeah, we'll move it, is huge. Not having to have that stress of watching things rot in a field is everything.
Every Saturday and Tuesday we're packing shares, and unlike a traditional CSA, it's not just veggies and fruits. In any given family dinner share, you can find local fish, meat, cheeses, specialty items like popcorn and pretzels, delicious bakery items, croissants and bread, and also dairy items, eggs, yogurt, milk, and coffee, all these wonderful things that can be added on to customize a share. Trucks are coming in from the farms with hundreds and hundreds of pounds of local produce, meat, dairy, and grains. We line it up onto tables and we pack it into shares that we then put in our drivers' vehicles, and off they go to over 60 towns across Massachusetts. We do about 700 deliveries a week. In the delivery system itself, we're using a route optimization software that allows us to eliminate miles and CO2 emissions and try to make the routing as efficient as possible.
When they get a box, your customers know that everything in there is healthy from local sources. How important is that to your business model?
We spend a lot of time on the farms that we work with. We need to see it. I need to see how the animals were raised. I like to spend time and understand how things are grown here so that our customers can have this currency of trust with us. If they don't trust that the food is what we say it is, then we have nothing, because this is what we have built, is this belief system that the food that we are bringing into you is the highest quality and the healthiest and the most ethically raised that we can find.
People want to know that their food is produced in a manner that's beneficial to the environment and that we're not using harmful pesticides or herbicides. Everything we do here, it's thinking about the environmental consequences and trying to produce the healthiest food for our members.
What we like to do when we send somebody a delivery family dinner is tell them the story of where it was grown, who grew it, a few ideas of what to do with it, because we really want to put a place to the food and show the value of the people who grew it and not just the value of the food itself. Having any given farm and trying to access a market means that you're limited by the number of people who are willing to come to you to receive your CSA, or there are a number of farmers markets that you're willing to attend. It's very unlikely that a farmer on the North Shore is going to have a customer on the South Shore, because there's just that sort of geographic barrier. But by operating online with the systems that we've created, we've blown the doors off of all that. This allows the farmers to not focus on marketing, not focus on customer acquisition, not focus on any of that. Leave that to us. And we allow them to sort of just do what they do best, letting farmers be farmers.
The fact that sustainability is so important to you in helping the environment, how important is that to you and your mission at Family Dinner?
Sustainability is core to the Family Dinner mission. I think that there's something for everybody in the story of local food. Whether your primary concern is the environment, the ethical treatment of animals, workers' rights, or just having simply delicious tasting food, there's something for everybody there. But there's another story of sustainability in having a small business. There's the sustainability of the local business ecosystem. There is a local business dollar multiplier. It's a mathematical formula that says that when you spend $1 at a local business, 45 cents of that dollar stays in the community, versus when you're supporting giant multinational companies, 15 cents of that dollar stays local. So it's sort of this wonderful ripple effect. When you support a small business, you're supporting the people that work there, you're supporting the people that own the business, and also supporting all the other small businesses that they support. So when you spend your dollars locally, you can have the confidence that they're stretching much farther than just your first spending of that dollar. The old adage had been, you are what you eat. But we know more and more, and there's a famous saying that says, you are what you eat eats. So knowing how your animals were raised, knowing what's going into the production of your vegetables, and more importantly, what's not going into them. No chemicals, no pesticides, no antibiotics. What you're seeing here is a farm. It's not a science experiment. It's raising things the way that nature intended, which makes them better for the animals, better for the earth, better for you, and at the end of the day, tastier. Right? There's something truly delicious about a tomato that's going to come out of Clark Farm versus something that was grown 4,000 miles away and shipped to your home. I'm excited by the power of local food. I'm excited by the capacity to use technology to make complex systems better. There's always been this saying in my family that life is like a woodpile. You either add to it or you take from it. And it's exciting, and we're honored to have the work that we do at Family Dinner add to the woodpile just a little bit.
Coming up after the break, we'll visit another local company helping farmers through sustainability and geology when New England Living returns. Welcome back to New England Living. I'm Rachel Holt. Up next, meet the man giving farm to table a whole new meaning. Gerald Croteau is the founder of American Stonecraft, turning ordinary rocks into extraordinary gifts.
So I got into this because I love the landscape of New England and I love seeing stone walls. I realized that a lot of people had never seen the inside of these ordinary looking fieldstones and that I could pick them up sustainably just from working farms and turn the rocks that were coming up in their fields into products that they could sell at their farm stands. We make coasters, we make bowls, serving platters, and we make cooking stones.
Gerald works with farmers across the Northeast to help collect their field stones. You're the guy that goes out to the farm, picks the stones that you want to use. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for something that's gonna just have that spark, that magic, that interesting swirl, that metamorphism, bright colors, or just something unusual, something artistic that people are gonna want to collect and cherish and pass on for generations.
How are the rocks different on the various farms you work with?
So you'll see different colors, you'll see different shapes, you'll see different types of minerals. We're talking about 6 different states and there's so much color diversity. You're more likely to see something that's gonna fit into your lifestyle, into your home. I think that we're the first stone company that's really sustainably sourcing raw materials. And the reason we can do that is that these rocks get pushed to the surface in a process called granular convection. As the ground is freezing in the winter, it's pushing these stones to the surface, so farmers traditionally would pile them into walls. That process continues every year, so there's a new crop of stones and we don't have to disturb, we don't have to blast. We can just pick up rocks that are already at the surface. One of the interesting facts that I tell people is that there's more miles of stone walls in New York and New England than it would take to get to the moon from the Earth.
We're standing on this big pile of rocks. Just give us an idea, how many of these would you sift through until you find one that you want?
It might be 100,000 stones that you look at and kind of pass over before you find that perfect piece, because those rocks themselves might be gray and boring and beige on the outside, but on the inside they could have really vibrant colors. So you're trying to find these really rare, colorful ones. That's what's the most amazing part of it, is to see the contrast between the outside and the inside. So we're looking for color, we're looking for pattern, and we're looking for size and shape. Over here, I spotted this one, and it's a piece of quartz. It's got this fissure running through it this direction. So that's kind of a threat to the integrity of the stone, but we might still be able to cut it this way and either make some plates, or we could even stack it and do kind of a full set. So it could be the whole rock, we could put it back together. Where I really like to go is to the rock pile, because the stones have been out of the ground for about a year and given it time to rinse off, so you can see more of that color diversity from the outside.
After the rocks have been gathered, they head to their workshop in Lowell, Massachusetts, where head craftsman Jonathan Carranza begins his process.
Once Gerald comes in with a palleted stone, we separate everything based on farms. From there, we'll bring it in and start cutting everything by half, and that way we'll start the selection process. Not everything makes it in because through weathering you get cracks, some things are just awkward shapes. Then we'll start splitting everything in slices, and then I'll bring it into my table, which I will start separating everything, what's going to become a coaster, what's going to become a food slab, and what's going to become a bowl and stuff like that.
When you split open a stone and you're deciding what to make out of it, what are you looking for?
Movement. You know, we want to see a collage of different colors, of different elements combining together, and depending what it has, it will throw different colors.
What is that process like of sculpting rocks?
It all starts with a diamond blade. When you start sculpting, it's all about using different grits. Each individual pad that you go through, it just brings up more color, more detail. You really get this glass finish on the stone without using any chemicals or epoxy. It's just stone.
Do you have a favorite thing to make?
I really like the process of making bowls. It does require a lot of sculpting involved in it. When the light hits and you get that great polish, you see the roughness from the outside, and then you see the beauty from the inside. We do really take pride on being 100% handmade and using basic materials.
You do custom sourcing here and you can make things really personal. Tell us about that.
Custom sourcing is us grabbing and putting a lot of emotion into something that means something for the person that's going to receive it. Whether it was from a farm they grew up in, where they first met their loved one, it has some sort of story behind it. Adding emotion is what turns material into artwork. It's not about the stone anymore. It's about the memory that's in the stone.
Do you find that customers are very interested in knowing where their stones are
All
from?
the time, all the time. A lot of people would buy a certain stone just because it came from their hometown. Sometimes they're far away and they're a little bit homesick, so they get to take something home with them. Telling those stories of where the stone came from, we started keeping track where everything come from.
The bottom of the piece will have the inscription and engraving of where it's from, and it'll say the name of the farm, so if you're from that town, it just has that sentimentality. The best part is that you're doing something that people really treasure and are oftentimes giving it to somebody else who's really going to appreciate it. In a lot of cases, you're bringing people to tears and they're just really happy and they love it. That's such an honor.
Coming up after the break, how rethinking the space around you can lead to a greater sense of well-being when New England Living returns after this. Welcome back to New England Living. Up next, learn how connecting the inside of your home to the outdoors can improve your health and wellness. Michael and Jesse Sartor recently decided to renovate their home with a specific focus on natural light. As homeowners, what were some of the things that you wanted to keep in mind during the design process?
Well, we really wanted to take advantage of the outdoor space, so we wanted as many windows and doors opening up to our yard as we could possibly have.
We look out onto conservation land out here, and we really wanted to make sure our home was really opened up to the land and we could actually access it, make use of it, and kind of bring the light and feel into our house. Right away when we met Lizzie, we could tell she had the same vision we have, connecting our house to the outside and bringing all the nature indoors.
Lead designer Lizzie Antonic worked closely with the Sartors to create the perfect solution.
It was a thoughtful process as far as how we were going to incorporate the windows and how they were going to be laid out. The bifold door in the back here was something that they were really interested in doing. That's the kitchen space.
We spend so much time in the kitchen with 3 kids and dogs and family, and we love to have barbecues, so having the doors open up to the backyard will just be perfect.
You chose one of Marvin's newest front doors in this house. Why?
So the door that we chose is part of their modern series. It's their new swinging door. It's actually the first door in New England that's going to be installed, so you guys are getting the first one.
Not a big deal.
Jesse and Michael were looking for a front door that really achieved a look with a lot of glass. And then when we went to the Seven Tide showroom, they were able to show us this new product, and it perfectly achieved what we were looking for.
The style was exactly what we wanted, and the durability was perfect for New England.
You seem like a really active and outdoorsy family. There's chickens running around, your kids are playing. How did that factor into the design of the home?
Well, we wanted it to be open and airy, both literally the interior is open, high ceilings, but we also wanted it to open up to the outside, and so we actually made sure these bifold doors are a big factor, lots of windows, just accessible in and out.
This house has 72 windows, which seems like a lot on paper.
Yeah.
Is that pretty typical for
No.
a house of this size? So a lot of windows.
A lot of windows.
Why?
A lot of
Why
light.
was that important to you?
Our theme has been bringing the light and nature into our home, and in order to get a lot of light, you just need a lot of windows.
We obviously wanted as much wellness and health and anything that would benefit being at home and having like a healthy environment, so the light and the air and all of that was important to us. We have 4 seasons, but I mean, you can open the doors up in any of those seasons. You're still using the outside, and a sunny winter day is still a great way to get the sunlight inside.
What are some areas of the home that you really work to incorporate light and bring the outside inside?
We have a lot of sort of unexpected spaces where we have windows in the house, spaces that you're actually in all the time, right? You go into your closet every day, you're in your shower every day, you're in your pantry every day. We added a window in there. Those were spaces that we were really mindful to make sure that we had that light coming through.
Going up and looking through those openings and those windows, it makes the rooms feel so much larger and definitely more inviting to be in the laundry room or in the pantry, getting stuff done and still feeling like you're outside.
PJ Antonic is the project's lead builder and helped bring the homeowner's vision to reality.
So they are all about being outside, being in nature. And so their number one goal was to create as much of that feeling as possible, as well as bringing as much light into the house as possible.
Why is light important in a house? What does it do in terms of improving health and wellness?
So there are tons of stats out there that actually prove that more light in your home makes you a happier person, is more healthy. And so for me, that's one really important thing. The other is artificial light sometimes can just, get boring, right? Whereas light changes all day. And so for me, when I walk through a space, I try to think about how can I best utilize the sun and where is it coming from and how can we capitalize on those moments?
Light can do so many things. It can improve a mood, it can help with sleep, productivity, things like that. So in what ways are we seeing that come into play in this house in particular, where the light and the windows are serving a function?
So a greater sense of well-being starts with the spaces around us, right? And so for us, every room has an opportunity to be brighter, lighter, has an opportunity to be healthier and more enjoyable. So when we walk through a project before we even put pen to paper, we're thinking to ourselves, how do we get more light in here? How do we create a more open space? How do we create a space that's more inviting? With this project, I think we're absolutely hitting it out of the park.
Is there a particular space in here that you are exceptionally proud of, or you're just really looking forward to seeing it finished?
I think the kitchen is gonna be killer. It's been a vision of Lizzie and I's mind for a while, and we're finally bringing it to light. We've always wanted to do a bifold door, which we're doing, the Marvin bifold door, to again, bring the outside in, open it all the way up. So I think the kitchen is gonna be a showstopper for sure.
I think that everybody has thought about the amount of time that they spend in their house, the amount of time that they work in their home, the amount of time that they're staying home to eat. All of those things are things that you think about when you're trying to bring light and energy and fresh air inside. So I think that Marvin has helped us really achieve that.
What we've come up with here in the end is exactly what we could have, ever would have dreamed of. It's amazing.
Coming up after the break, if you're in the market to buy or sell, or just want to make the most of your existing space, our real estate experts have you covered when New England Living returns after this. Welcome back to the show. Coming up, our real estate experts talk about the latest trends adding value to your home. We're here with our real estate experts, Tracy and Jared from the Shulk & Wilk Group, offering up some tips for our viewers. Whether people are buying or selling, everyone wants to know what's trendy right now in real estate.
So let's talk about what's going on with the exteriors. We're seeing a lot of movement in the exteriors. Back in the early 2000s, it was really all about the traditional colonial. Whether you were reselling your 1920s, 30s, 40s, that was the traditional colonial, but the builders were also building the colonial like that. Over time, we saw them change it up a little bit. The shutters came off, the roof lines got more exciting, so it became more of a transitional colonial. And then moving even further along, we now are seeing the modern farmhouse. It's a white kind of farmhouse with a black sash window. We'll see different detailing on the garage to make it look a little different. Also, we're starting to see the California contemporary, which is really cool. We haven't really seen contemporaries in some of these towns, and the builders now are building them, and we'll see how the buyers respond, but it's an exciting movement from the traditional to the transitional and now the contemporary.
And Jared, that's what's going on outside. What about inside?
Yeah, inside we're seeing very similar style. We're seeing that California modern trend continue. It's really focused on the kitchen, the flooring, and the staircases. In the kitchen, we're seeing the traditional shaker cabinet kind of fade away, and it's a much more plain, modern, sleek, contemporary look. While whites and grays are really strong, we're seeing a lot of natural woods make their big comeback. Light, dark, doesn't matter. We're also seeing black cabinetry. On the flooring, we're seeing much lighter tones with a satin finish. And what I think is most fun is the staircases. We're seeing people shift away from that traditional wood spindle to either iron balusters or even a glass or horizontal wire railing system so they can give that great, strong first impression when people walk in.
Thank you both, and you can find more real estate tips on our website, cbsboston.com/New England Living. Thanks for joining us today on New England Living. For more in the show or anything you've seen here today, visit us at cbsboston.com/New England Living and follow us on social media. And don't forget to check out the latest edition of New England Living magazine on newsstands now. I'm Rachel Holt. See you next time on New England Living.